He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week, heading into a weekend that'll have the Jaguars' second to last home game of the year, welcoming in the New York Football Jets. We found out today the Jaguars will not have Evan Ingram, not only for this game, but for the remainder of the year, as he joins Trevor Lawrence, Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, as offensive skill position players that are officially done in 2024. More on that in a moment. It is a weekend of the Army-Navy game. Certainly excited about that. One of the great spectacles, really, in all of sports. The Gator basketball team back on the court against a good Arizona State team tomorrow. Florida in the top 10 now of the AP poll in college basketball. And in fact, 1 week from today, the Gator football team plays their bowl game against Tulane, and the college football playoff officially gets underway with Indiana and Notre Dame. So there is a lot to do. As always, we are glad you are spending your Friday evening heading into the weekend with us here on Hacker After Dark. Guest lineup looks like this. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. We'll talk Jaguars and Jets. I also want to talk about Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby, the Jarian Jones, the young Jaguars. The guys that I'm excited about watching for the last month of this season. We'll also, we'll dive into the draft a little bit. Ryan Fowler is certainly one of our draft guys. And even though it's not even Christmas yet, it is that time as the Jaguars have officially been eliminated. So we'll not do a deep dive, but a little bit, a shallow end perspective on the NFL draft coming up with Ryan Fowler. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. We will head to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Coming up in just a bit, Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. That is the website that broke a lot of this news revolving around Bill Belichick. We'll get Tommy's perspective up in Chapel Hill on everything that has transpired over the last 24 to 48 hours. Probably the biggest story still in sports, the fact that Bill Belichick, the brand new head coach at North Carolina. And coming up at about 9:15 tonight, we will head up to East Rutherford, New Jersey. My man Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. He is our guy when it comes to the New York Jets. We'll talk Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk Devontae Adams. We'll talk Garrett Wilson. And we'll talk about the Jets coaching search. Who are they looking for? And compare that to some of the names that we've been throwing around here in Jacksonville if/when Doug Peterson is shown the door. So we are very busy. We are with you till 10 o'clock. As always, Jacksonville, we're glad you've chosen to spend part of your Friday evening with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Big deal of the night. Just found out as well, kind of a big deal in itself, right? I'm willing to bet, I'm not a gambling man, Denmark, but I'm willing to bet that at some point in the next 10 minutes, we're going to be giving away a pair of Jaguar tickets to the Jets game on Sunday. That's what we do here on Hacker After Dark. For the hard-working men and women of Northeast Florida, if you want to go see the 3-10 Jaguars and the 3-10 Jets, all kidding aside, if you want to go see Aaron Rodgers in what will likely be his final appearance at Everbank Stadium, we will give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to Jaguars Jets. That comes up in Again, if I were a betting man, I would say less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah. I'm trying to get there, Trevor. It's always important to try to get there. Getting there is the ultimate goal. Trying to get there is obviously, Denmark, one of those goals. And I'm trying to get there with this game. A guy that will not be there is Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, we found out today, is out for the year with a labrum injury in his shoulder. Evan Ingram joins Christian Kirk, joins Gabe Davis, joins Trevor Lawrence as guys that are officially now out for the year. The injuries have been wild, ladies and gentlemen. They have been wild. This season has been a nightmare. Let's call it what it is. It has been a nightmare. With the exception of an 80-plus yard touchdown by Brian Thomas against Indianapolis, with the exception of Cam Little hitting that field goal to officially beat the Colts in Week 5, I don't think any solace in beating New England in London. That was what it was. I guess officially eliminating the Titans last week from the playoffs was nice. But the good things that have happened to this football team, you can count on one finger, or one hand anyway. One hand. Obviously, one of those fingers on that hand would be the emergence of Brian Thomas Jr. That is the overwhelming positive to take out of 2024, but it's been largely, overwhelmingly negative. It's been a nightmare. You want to talk about limping to the finish line? We are limping to the finish line. No Trevor Lawrence, no Evan Ingram, no Christian Kirk, no Gabe Davis. Cam Robinson's been traded. Roy Robertson Harris has been traded. Just get us to January and let's just forget about the 2024 season, right? But the last 4 games here are going to tell a large story about what January is going to look like here in Jacksonville, as we talked about last night. If the Jaguars can string some victories together, Sunday against the Jets, a week from Sunday at Las Vegas, on the 29th against Tennessee, if you can string some victories together, what does that mean for the future here in Jacksonville when it comes to Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson? Certainly that's a story, but I don't believe that story will gain any legs this weekend. Give me the Jets to win the game. I got the vibe, Denmark, and I'm getting the vibe, and I don't have inside information necessarily. It's just a vibe I'm getting. I think the Evan Ingram injury might have been the last straw for this team. They can say all they want about staying positive and battling. Look, they have battled. Take nothing away from them. They have battled. But at some point, it's over. At some point, you're done. The bad things just accumulate over and over and over and over, and you're done. You lose Gabe Davis, you lose Christian Kirk, you lose Trevor Lawrence, now you lose Evan Ingram. I think this might have been the last straw. I think the Jaguars are done. I think maybe they win one more game, maybe. I look at that Tennessee game, I don't actually think they're going to go to Las Vegas and win a week from Sunday.
Really?
I don't know.
I think that's a toss-up.
Again, we're talking about a win last week. They beat an awful Tennessee Titan team 10-6. And the only reason the Jaguars won that game is because Will Levis missed a wide-open Chig Okonkwo who didn't have a Jaguar within 10 yards of him in the end zone. If that's a touchdown for Tennessee, you do the math on that. Tennessee would win the game. Jacksonville did not play well last week.
No, they didn't.
Jacksonville beat an awful Tennessee team.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans they're not good.
No, they might be the worst
Raiders,
team in
but
football.
I mean, it's not like tomorrow, like we all agree, like this weekend, the Jets, they're not a good team, but they have a really good roster. So we think that the Jets are going to beat the Jags more than likely.
I mean, there comes a certain point when you don't have anybody else, when you don't have anybody left. I mean, you got Brian Thomas Jr., right? You got ETN and Bigsby, but then what do you have?
Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, Tim Jones,
Elijah Cooks,
Luke Farrell,
Josh Reynolds. I mean, guys, that's where you are. That's reality. At the end of the day, I think they're done. I don't think they're going to perform well in the last month. Again, so many negative things accumulate. Give me the Jets on Sunday, and I like the Jets sort of big, actually, because I think the Jets can score, and I don't think the Jaguars are going to score very much. They scored 10 points last week with Evan Ingram. Now you take Evan Ingram out of that offense. Kirk's already gone. Davis is already gone. Obviously, Lawrence is already gone. You could be the most diehard, bleed teal, Jaguar goggle person on the planet. At some point, enough's enough. So I'll take the Jets to win the game on Sunday. Quickly to Gainesville, Austin Armstrong. How about that? Did you see that? Austin Armstrong, one of the defensive coordinators, the co-defensive coordinator for Billy Napier. Ups and leaves like that. Snap of the finger goes to Houston. Now you ask yourself, why would Austin Armstrong leave the Florida Gators to go to Houston? I asked myself that as well. And again, I don't know this for certain, but my assumption is he's actually going to be the defensive coordinator there. He's not the defensive coordinator here. I think a lot of that defense was Ron Roberts. Now, will Billy Napier replace Armstrong on the staff? We'll see. But I think Ron Roberts had a lot to do with the Gator turnaround last year. So Austin Armstrong gone. Ron Roberts remains. We'll see if Billy Napier wants to bring in somebody else. But that was certainly some news down in Gainesville that Austin Armstrong leaves. Didn't know anything about this until the news broke this morning. And by this afternoon, he had agreed to terms with Houston, the Cougars, as their new defensive coordinator. Par for the course, Northeast Florida football in 2024. Florida State 2-10, the Jaguars 3-10. That's 5-20. My gosh, man. The Gators were holding the torch, 7-5. That brings you to a whopping 12-25 combined record for Florida, Florida State, and the Jaguars this year. But the Jaguars have 2 more home games. And you have a chance to go see Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and the New York Jets take on Mac Jones and Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington and Tank Bigsby and Brenton Strange and the Jaguars. And we have a pair of tickets for you right here on Hacker After Dark, courtesy of us here on 1010XL. So all you have to do on a Friday night, Jacksonville, Florida, we'll take caller 3 to signify the win totals for both the Jaguars and the Jets. Caller 3, 641-1010. And you're heading to Everbank Stadium on Sunday for the Jags and the Jets, 1 o'clock kick. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. We'll take caller 3 right now, 641-1010. Ryan Fowler, Bleacher Report, and the Draft Network. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk Brian Thomas Jr. It's time. Talk a little draft. Mark your calendar. Friday, December 13th, Hacker finally did it. We're going to do a shallow end, kind of a doggy paddle swim into the draft class. And that's next. Hacker After Dark on a Friday right here in Jacksonville, Florida. It's 1010XL and it's 92.5 FM.
It's football all day on Pregame Friday.
Little pigskin, why not?
Get the news, notes, and inside stuff you need to get ready for game day.
It's fantastic.
Pregame Friday.
Brought to you by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MoreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Millard Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Millard Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Millard Electric Company. Apply today at millardcareers.com. Millard Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, Hicken here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX, J-A-X, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, man. Run your game.
Why do you choose Farah and Farah? First, we have the financial resources to take on any insurance company. And our track record proves that we know how to win. Our attorneys and staff are a team, and we've worked together for decades. To us, our job is much more than just a paycheck. We love to help. And this is important. We never forget. It's not about us. It's all about you. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
When you're hungry for midday sports talk, share a table with helmets and heels.
It's a bad idea to travel on an empty stomach.
Mia, Lauren, and Taylor. We like hungry.
Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Noon to 2 weekdays on 1010XL.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Establishing a regular sleeping pattern is crucial for your well-being. This includes going to bed at roughly the same time every night and waking up around the same time every morning. You may even consider turning off all electronic devices an hour before bedtime. Ever wonder why you can't fall asleep after staring at your phone right before bed? Studies show that the light from your phone actually decreases melatonin production, therefore causing disruptions to your sleep throughout the night. Get some rest before the big game. Go Jags.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Hey, y'all. Melissa Scobie here. And you know my husband, Josh, could really kick that ball. But when it comes to working around the house, well, not so much. So when I need irrigation, drainage, or seamless gutters, I rely on John Haney's crews at Clearwater. Hit it, guys.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJax.com.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Here's a special message from our president.
Thanks, David. This is Jordan Harrington, president of Royal Pest Services. We'd like to thank everyone who has trusted Royal Pest for their pest control needs this year. Wishing all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from the Royal Pest family.
With the sun setting earlier, Hidden Hills Golf Club has expanded their twilight specials so you can take advantage of our special afternoon rates and get your round in before dark. Book today at hiddenhillsgc.com and enjoy this beautiful fall weather.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Homemade cookies baked fresh by Jen. Original 80s band named Ice Creams by Ray. Build your own cookie ice cream sandwiches from scratch. Cookies and cream Jack's Beach. Open till 11 Friday and Saturday, 10 weekdays. Making our beach a better place. Cookies and cream Jack's Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Jets come up this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL, a battle of 3-10 football teams, although the Jaguars are always coming off a victory up in Nashville last week over their rival, the Tennessee Titans. Let's talk Jags. Let's talk, dare I say, a little bit of draft as well. It's that time of year with the Jaguars officially eliminated from the playoffs. And let's do that with my buddy Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. Ryan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Happy holidays, Ryan. I always appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I know it's been a little bit since we chatted. In fact, the last time was about a month and a half ago, and at that point, the Jaguars were not doing well, but there was maybe some outside optimism that they could turn it around, and obviously that has been absolutely destroyed in the last 4 or 5 weeks, including the season-ending loss of Trevor Lawrence. But the Jaguars did go get a win last week, Ryan, over the Tennessee Titans, and I guess any win in the NFL can be considered to be a good thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you look at the last month of the year, right, Ryan? I mean, since we last spoke, and you could say the Jaguars are playing some decently competitive football, of course, away from traveling up to Detroit, and losing by 45 plus. That's really where you're at. And I think losing Trevor Lawrence and how you lost him in the first place and the hit by Azeez Al-Shaair, I mean, I know it's been talked about all over the place. It's unfortunate because I think this year's been so rough on Trevor, on Doug Peterson, the entire city of Jacksonville, just on the entire franchise. And now you're sitting here with 3 wins. Really, what is both the immediate future and the long-term future look like for this Jacksonville roster? And now where you're sitting here and you win against the Tennessee Titans in your division and on the road, and yeah, sure, it feels good to get a win, and it's never easy to win in the NFL, but as you just mentioned, and as we'll talk about a little bit as far as the draft, you got a player potentially at the top of the board that would fill an immediate need potentially at either side of the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Travis Hunter, and you may be playing yourself out of the sweepstakes if you continue to win ball games, and you look at the next 4 weeks, and you're going to have chances to do so against the rosters that you're going to face. So they're a little bit of in a muddy spot right now, but I think at the end of the day, if you're in that building, you're in that locker room, you want to continue to try to win football games because as we know, Ryan, entering this year, the Jaguars were definitely not expected to be sitting here moving into almost Christmas time with just 3 wins.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and I want to get to that with you in a moment, kind of what the future holds here in Jacksonville. But, Ryan, I got to tell you something, man. We're watching the Jaguars-Titans last week. Brian Thomas Jr., who obviously we're all very high on here locally, did not have a catch in the first half. Was only targeted, I think, 1 or 2 times. And we were all frustrated. Why are they not getting the ball to BTJ? And then in the second half against Tennessee, 8 catches for 86 yards. He was dominant. And I got to tell you, man, I don't think we've seen a performance like that from 0 catches at halftime to 8 grabs for 86 yards. I mean, you got to go back pretty far in the memory banks for a Jaguar wide receiver to take over a game like that. Clearly, these next 4 games, a lot of it is all about Brian Thomas Jr. and his continued development.
It is. I think he's been special this year. I remember you and I talked about him coming out, of LSU last year as far as a couple of things I wanted to see him work on as far as his release package, against man coverage, and seeing his ability when given the necessary volume and targets, he can absolutely prove himself that he's become not only just a high-level receiver in this league, but a bona fide core contributor for the Jaguars, wide receiver 1 for the next, hopefully, 5, 6, 7, 8 years down there in Jacksonville. And he's been excellent. 6'4", 205, can run every route. He's tough at the catch point. He blocks his tail off at times in the perimeter, so he does the dirty work. And as you mentioned, there's times where you look across the league and you see some of these wide receiver ones that don't get involved until sometimes the second or third quarter. And you look at, in this case, Press Taylor and say, what's going on here? But you look at Brian Thomas and just give him targets, whether that's at the line of scrimmage, Ryan, on a designated touch, or it's down the field or on a 3rd and 4 in a high leverage situation. He's consistently proven to be their wide receiver one. And I don't want to see moving into the next 2 years where you work into the third darn quarter of the football game and Brian Thomas is uninvolved. He's too talented not to have the ball in his hands. I don't care if it's man coverage one-on-one or they got a safety over the top two. He's proven to be a special football player, obviously a hit from this Jaguars front office, and definitely a piece to where hopefully, he and Trevor Lawrence develop a Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow type of connection for the long term.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr., I believe, only 15 yards away from setting the Jaguar rookie receiving yardage record in franchise history, so he should get that, you would think, Sunday against the New York Jets. Ryan Fowler, the Draft Network and Bleacher Report, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, final Jaguar-related topic as far as this year's roster, whether it's Ventrell Miller, whether it's Jarian Jones, whether it's Britton Strange, absolutely love what we've seen out of Tank Bigsby. We mentioned Brian Thomas Jr., even a Parker Washington. That, to me, is reason enough to watch these next 4 games to see these young guys develop, because those young guys are going to be the nucleus of what the Jaguars are going to have to build around moving forward.
It is. I'm excited as well. Even looking at some of the kids that they drafted over the last few years along the defensive line, looking at Miles Cole, of course, Mason Smith, day 2 pick, Jordan Jefferson, I really liked out of LSU. Some of those guys, I'm still interested to see play more and get more and have more impact, and this is the chance to prove yourself if you're a rookie and a second-year player. Because I'm right there with you. Tank is someone that I liked coming out of Auburn, thought someone that he could just live on that vertical plane, right? Put his foot in the ground and run you over, run around you as well. It's been enjoyable to watch him play. And then we talked about Jarian Jones coming out of Florida State, someone that I absolutely loved as far as his physicality, the hips, the fluid coverage ability. He can do everything. Now, I know he made headlines when, of course, Saquon Barkley jumped over him backwards. I get all that stuff. But he's just a fundamental good football player. And those are players that you look at right now, if you're Jaguars front office, no matter who's going to be here in the years to come, as far as this is your guys that you've added in 2024, 2023 as pieces that are going to contribute, but also rotationally, and then also players you're trying to draft to play for second contracts. Because I think that's something also, Ryan, that goes overlooked, is that when players are drafted, teams don't want to just draft a guy to come in for one contract. They're trying to draft players that are going to be here beyond their first contract. And we'll look at all these players and the impacts that they've made, and I think some of them can do even a little bit more. That's where it excites me about the immediate future of this Jaguars roster, because they are getting production from their veterans, but also this young group of players, first, second, third-year guys that are going to be here for a little while.
Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. And you brought up something earlier that's kind of the big question here this week in Jacksonville. You talk about the draft positioning. I think the Jaguars actually went from the first pick in the draft to like the 8th pick in the draft because they beat Tennessee last week. And obviously that's not good for April. It might be better now in December getting a win. But moreover, the interesting thing that I'm noticing is that Jaguar fans think the draft picks have been not very talented anyway, particularly in the top 10. So they want to win games, and that's fine. But with the Jets coming up and the Raiders coming up and the Titans coming up, combined records of, what is that, 31 and then 3, so like 8 and 31, I think, are the combined records of the next 3 opponents. If Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, Ryan, win these next 3 games, does that give Shad Khan the ammunition, if you will, to say, hey, I think these guys are the right guys to lead us into 2025? And I can tell you, there are not a lot of Jaguar fans listening right now that want that. So it's a really interesting spot the fan base is in over the next month.
It is, especially when you look at the Raiders, right, who right now have number 1 overall pick at 2-11, right next to the New York Giants. And if you're the Jaguars and you're sitting there right now where you are 5th in this draft order, where you're looking at a few other teams, 4 or 5 other teams that have 3 wins, there's going to be some sweepstakes here this next month of the year. And if you continue to win ball games, sure, here's a pat on the back for Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke. But for me, the attention really focuses on the first 9-10 weeks of the season for Jacksonville and what you were, and it wasn't good enough. And I think this is a league to where it's a what have you done for me lately league, and everything is really taken at face value and everything's expected quickly because we live in this microwave type of society. And Jacksonville has shown the ability of the last few years to not only be competitive in their division, but obviously be competitive in the AFC. And now this year, where this is expected to be a year, right, when you add Brian Thomas to be kind of that guy that takes you up a level on offense specifically and help Trevor Lawrence, it didn't happen. So for me, I'm looking at it to where I don't know what's going to happen with this front office. I right now would probably make some changes moving into next year. But looking at this order, and we just mentioned the last 4 weeks of the year, I don't want to say just tank because, again, you're a player in the locker room. You're going to try to win football games. But they're going to be in a spot to add an immediate core contributor in a draft, Ryan, bottom line, that there is really no tiers of separation in this class away from about 7 to 8 players. You know they're going to go in the top 25 picks in this draft. It boards around the league are all over the place at this point in time.
You know, Ryan, we know the Jets coaching job is open. We know the Saints coaching job is open. The Chicago Bears. One would think potentially the Giants is going to come open. Maybe the Raiders with Antonio Pierce. There'll be a few others. And then obviously that brings us to Jacksonville and Doug Peterson. And let's say hypothetically that a change is made at head coach. If you're Ben Johnson, if you're Liam Cohen, if you're, Joe Brady, all the hot names that you hear, how appealing is this Jaguar job compared to the other ones that may come open?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Ryan. And I'll say this. I think all of those names, they're buzzy names right now. They get you excited, specifically offensive types of play callers and minds in your organization. I get all that. But when I look at those three guys, and I specifically look at Ben Johnson and kind of what happened in Washington last year, where they basically tried to pay him everything to come in, it wasn't enough. And they get Dan Quinn in the building, a defensive-minded guy and a leader of men. That's where it switches for me, because I think the last few years in the head coaching cycles, we've gotten a lot of attention on offensive-minded young gurus, the Matt LaFleurs, the Sean McVays, Kevin O'Connells of the world, and that's worked out. But then I look at guys like a Dan Quinn, what he's done in Washington, or I look at a guy like Dan Campbell in Detroit, and I look at leaders of men, Mike Tomlin as well in Pittsburgh. And I think if there's one guy that pops in my head, Ryan, that is not in the NFL right now, but is someone that has got a lot of buzz, that's Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, potentially making the move to the NFL. And I know we just mentioned Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, those names, but looking at this Jaguars roster, they need a leader of men. And I'm not saying that Doug Peterson hasn't and can't be that guy, but right now it's not working. And I think his voice has fallen mute in that locker room. And a guy like Marcus Freeman in this locker room or in an NFL locker room where I believe he would be a leader of men, which goes overlooked, that's kind of where my focus turns to not just Jacksonville as far as head coaching positions, but as some of these other organizations where there is talent in place, but they need someone to look to lean and have a shoulder to lean on from a man that wears the headset, not just a whistle holder in the building.
No, I like that. It's a different opinion. And look, we've heard the name Marcus Freeman, but maybe not linked here to Jacksonville potentially. I certainly like that. The Ben Johnson thing is weird because everybody thinks he's at the top of everybody's list. Yet from people I've talked to in Detroit, Ryan, Ben Johnson is kind of an interesting guy, right? He kind of goes to the toot of his own horn in the sense that he might not be interested in the big markets. There's some talk about that. He's going to be very, very mindful because he knows how in demand he is about the organization, about the past, about what they have currently on the roster. There's a line waiting for Ben Johnson, and I get that, but I love the Marcus Freeman thought. To me, I'm a Liam Cohen guy. I look at what he's done in Tampa with that running game and rejuvenating Baker Mayfield and all that, and that's a guy I would certainly want to talk to as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think some guys also, Ryan, that's not talked about a lot is just some guys are better as coordinators, whether that's offensively or defensively. I mean, look at Brian Flores with the Vikings. I mean, what he's been able to do in the certain role that he fits. And you look at Ben Johnson, where there are different duties that you have to fulfill as a head coach away from just being a guy to say, man, look what you've done in Detroit, working with Dan Campbell and the offensive playmakers. that's great. But if you're now a head coach, it's just different as far as what you have to do. Again, back to my point, as far as a leader of men. And that's nothing towards Liam Cohen or anything towards Ben Johnson or anybody like that. But just looking at these players looking at these coaches and what they're asked to do for an NFL franchise, it's different from just being a coordinator, because even a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, again, is starting to get buzz again as a head coach. But sometimes guys are just best doing what they do best, and that's either living as an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. And that's where it comes down for me, Ryan, right now, looking at a guy like Liam Cohen or a Ben Johnson or Bobby Slow, of attention even last year, not as much this year. Or even, Ryan, we remember the conversations years ago with Byron Leftwich in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady and how that situation kind of fell apart. So it's an interesting dynamic, absolutely, as far as what a franchise values. But I think you have what you have right now in Jacksonville with really good pieces on offense, some young guys on defense that fly around for you. I think looking at someone that can come in right away, if it is one of those offensive coordinators, fine. That's what you want if you're Shad Khan. But a guy that can come in, be that voice, have that respect, that trust, and lead this roster back to relevancy.
Ryan Fowler, Bleacher Report, and the Draft Network. Ryan, final question. We got about 2 minutes. The draft. The Jaguars currently are in the top 5. We'll see what happens. Again, their draft positioning is going to depend on what happens against the Jets this Sunday, against the Raiders, against the Titans. It is a pretty easy schedule for the Jaguars. You would think they would get a victory or two in the mix here in the coming weeks. But the draft as a whole, and we'll do a lot more of this with you, once we get into 2025 and a little closer to the draft. But I was told last year that maybe this draft in 2025 won't be top heavy. There won't be a lot of, first round grades on guys, but that it's deep. Like a 5th rounder in 2025 would be the equivalent of a 3rd or 4th rounder in 2024. Do you agree with that?
There's a lot of players, Ryan, in this class. For myself, heading into each year, you probably put up a board of about 400 guys that you need to know as far as their skill sets across the country, all levels of football, that have some draftable grades. You hear some conversations around the league. Right now, this year, there's upwards of probably 500, 550 guys. There is a lot of talent at a lot of different spots. But as I said earlier, there's really no clear separation of tiers right now in players, because as you just mentioned, a 5th rounder, this year could go 3rd round last year or the year prior. Or even this year, there's going to be some players that go early on day 2 in the 2nd round that for some teams, they're going to have a 5th round grade on. There's a lot of guys that I am personally lower on. I know we'll get to that later on in the process than a lot of people are in the league right now. And that's just a differentiation of opinions and how boards are across the league. And it really just stems around Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Mason Graham, and really 2 locked-in quarterbacks for the 1st round, and that's Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward. But boards, bottom line, Ryan, are all over the place, and it also is headlined by this running back class, where this is going to be a historic group of running backs all the way from round 1 to round 7. Even some of the UDFAs are going to get an opportunity next spring.
We'll dive heavy into the draft come January, but unfortunately, you got to start thinking about that here in Jacksonville already, as the Jaguars have already been eliminated from playoff contention. Ryan Fowler, Bleacher Report, and the Draft Network. Ryan, what do you have coming out on Bleacher Report as we head into week 15 of the NFL season?
Yeah, lots of stuff always coming out. Written, audio, video. I have my podcast as well, Commanding the Huddle, that's going to continue to dive into the 2025 NFL Draft. For those that are interested, those are all podcast platforms. On my X, if you don't follow me there already, at _Ryan Fowler. And also every Monday night, Ryan, leading up to the Senior Bowl, I will be going live with Jim Nagy, the director of the Senior Bowl, to talk all things 2025 draft and Senior Bowl acceptances and just dive fully into the class. So if you guys are interested in that as well, that is on my X. So stuff coming out everywhere, Ryan.
Very cool. Ryan Fowler. Ryan, you do a terrific job. I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. If I don't talk to you beforehand, have a happy holidays, and we'll talk to you in the month of January.
Absolutely. You as well, Ryan. Thank you as always, man.
Wasn't a deep dive into the draft. Like I said, kind of a shallow end version into the draft. And we'll do that periodically here in the month of December. And then once you get into January, the season ends, we'll see if there's a head coaching vacancy here, potentially a general manager vacancy there, although I wouldn't hold your breath on the GM portion of that. And we'll have a lot of draft guys on. And Ryan Fowler is certainly one of our draft guys here on Hacker After Dark, and we'll have him on pretty regularly starting probably late January, early February, heading into late April's NFL draft. One of the biggest stories, probably the biggest story in the world of sports this week, and it probably will be for the foreseeable future, is Bill Belichick, the brand new head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. It is still going to take a while to get used to saying that. One of the websites that was really on top of this thing from the start is InsideCarolina.com. That is the 24/7 website that covers the North Carolina Tar Heel athletic program. Tommy Ashley is one of the guys for InsideCarolina.com up in Chapel Hill, and he joins me next. What a week it has been on Tobacco Road, and it has nothing to do on the hardwood. It has everything to do with six-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick, the brand new head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com, joins us next. Hacker After Dark on a Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida, right here, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
If you like to wake up to Teal Talk on game day, we have your favorite caller. Beautiful. On the Terminix Kickoff Show, live from Tailgaters Parking.
I love it.
Brought to you by Gatorade and Clearwater Irrigation on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. You know, I was at a holiday party with a little hack. One of his classmates' family threw a holiday party together earlier this afternoon. And a couple of dads in there listened to the show and it's like, Hacker, man, I hear about Awaken 180. Tell me about it. And I'm glad to tell people about it because it's changed my life, man. It's saved my life. That program, I've lost well over 100 pounds, 110 pounds roughly on Awaken 180. From 317 to in the 205 neighborhood in just 9 months. And it's all thanks to the best weight loss program I've ever been on. And I love telling my story, but I want to hear your story, your success story when you join Awaken 180. Again, changing lives for the better. I have so much more energy. My life is so much more complete now that I have over 100 pounds gone. Go to awaken180weightloss.com and start your weight loss journey today.
I got the perfect holiday gift for you. At the Blue Crab House, you spend $50, you get a $65 gift card. $50 and you get $65. Bam, the pressure's off. Located right off of San Jose on Jillington Creek Road, open every day until 9 except for Monday. Get rid of the stress of holiday shopping right now at the Blue Crab House. Spend $50 and get a $65 gift card. Only at the Blue Crab House.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I just cannot say enough good things about my friends at Pella Windows and Doors. They have the highest quality products, the strongest limited warranties in the industry, and they just flat out look amazing. But don't just take my word for it. Consumer Reports still has Pella rated #1 in all 3 major window categories, so why not go with the best? Call them today or visit the Pella showroom and be sure to ask about the latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows. That's Pella Windows and Doors on Phillips Highway, and tell them Mike sent you.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
It's a Monday morning must.
We actually found it!
Yes.
Hall of Fame Monday with Tony Baselli. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida. Monday mornings at 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the drill on 1010XL.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Zahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Googan Nation, it's Dreamfinders Danny Hicken here to tell you this is no dream. The folks at Dreamfinders Homes right now have an unbeatable interest rate for you. You may not think you can afford a Dreamfinders home. Well, think again. Take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. I said it, 2.99%. 15 Jacksonville communities to choose from. Find that dream house and take advantage of an unbeatable rate. Move now, literally. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Clearly the biggest sports story going on this week, and it'll probably be the biggest for some time, is Bill Belichick, the 6-time Super Bowl champion, no longer in the NFL. He's now in the Atlantic Coast Conference as the brand new head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. That is going to take a while to get used to. Let's head to Chapel Hill. Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. That is the 24/7 website for the Tar Heels. Does a great job covering UNC, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Tommy, appreciate you joining us on what has been I'm sure, a very busy week for you, man. How are you?
I am well, and you're right. It has been I will say insanity around Chapel Hill the last week or so. Just unbelievable events and all, and good to talk to you about it.
You know, the backdrop on this, people might not know the whole story from a few weeks ago. The Mack Brown firing, boy, I thought it was bizarre at the time. I mean, Mack Brown is beloved in Chapel Hill. Obviously, he's been there 2 different tenures. And I know the way that ended, I don't think sat well with Mack. I know he made some comments about that. Take us back a couple of weeks ago. How interesting was that situation?
Well, it was, and I think it actually goes all the way back to the JMU football game back, what was it, the 3rd or 4th game of the season, where Carolina had 70 hung on them at home by James Madison. And the fallout from that, there was, a lot of people said that Mack offered to resign then or did resign then after that game, and sort of that became a circus. But I think that was really the starting point of this whole ordeal is that game. And then it kind of built from there. And then you get blown out by Boston College. And that was really the tipping point finally for, I think, the North Carolina administration. And you're right, it did not end well. Firings are always messy, and Mack obviously wasn't ready to leave. We asked him in the press conference after that Boston College game, Has he had any talks with the athletic director and all? And he denied any of that. And so the follow-up question from one of our guys was like, "You intend to be here next year?" And this was on Monday after Boston College. And he said yes. And later that day, we learned that he was fired because they could not come to an amicable agreement for him to not be the coach in 2025. So that started it all, man. And it's been a circus ever since.
Wow, that's wild. Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, fast forward, I guess, towards the end of last week. And I got to be honest with you, Tommy. I mean, your boots on the ground in Chapel Hill. You're a lot closer to it than I am. I thought the Belichick to North Carolina stuff last week was laughable. I'm like, are you kidding me? Where on earth is this coming from? When did you start to believe that there were legitimate legs to this story?
Yeah, so we reported that he interviewed with North Carolina whenever that was, soon after the NC State football game. And at the time, I agree with you. I thought, like, what is going on here? This is either the greatest PR stunt in the history of Carolina football or the most unserious thing ever, because you had coaches, well-known coaches in the college ranks that were interested in the job and had interviewed or at least had talks. But once we heard that, Belichick, not only did he interview, but he blew them away with his detailed, oriented plan of how he would approach the college game and make North Carolina into sort of it's basically pro anyway, but a pro model of approach and all that stuff. And once that happened, and once we realized that, he wasn't just there to just get an interview, right? He showed up ready and was impressive enough, not just because he'd won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. He was impressive enough because of his preparedness and ready to discuss it and lay out a coherent plan. And from there, it just sort of built. And then other coaches, either whatever coaches do, either deny interest or pull their name out or whatever. And then it became basically for North Carolina, Bill Belichick or bust. And then you're all in at that point. Because if you take that approach, you can't go from Bill Belichick to an offensive coordinator being the head coach somewhere. You know what I mean? So Carolina stepped up to the plate. I give them credit. I thought it was laughable. I've often criticized North Carolina for not being all in on football, and by all in, we mean money and finances and support and all. And Carolina went to bat, and they went back and forth. And then, the more it became apparent that this was going to happen, of course, there was still a lot of people worried about the old Charlie Brown Lucy effect, the ball getting pulled out. But, Taylor Vippolis, shout out to Taylor. He was all over it, and he was like, this is done. And we held it as long as we could because we wanted to make absolutely sure. And then, boom. And then you've seen the reaction. I mean, I'm talking to you guys down in Florida, people from all over the country, all various outlets. It's just been all over it. And, It is still a little bit surreal to me, even sitting in the press conference yesterday, to see his name up there on the podium as head coach of North Carolina. I've been doing this and been around North Carolina's football program for a long time, and still surreal, but definitely real now.
Yeah, you guys with Inside Carolina were absolutely all over this story. A couple more for Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. I can't even begin to imagine the fan base's reaction. I mean, they got to be on cloud 9 over this.
Yes, and I think initially, like you said, people were like, "This is nuts." I mean, you're going to fire a 73-year-old coach and hire a 72-year-old coach now. Only at North Carolina could you do that. And everybody thought, initially, that it was crazy. But the fan base now, there's still a few out there. We've done right many podcasts and live shows since this all went down in the last couple of days and was finalized. And there's still some skeptics out there. But as a whole, I think the fan base is, like you said, just over the moon with the thought of this. And I think the more Belichick talks about it and details his plan, and I thought his press conference was great yesterday. I was expecting, NFL Bill Belichick and not get a lot, but those plans that he lays out, the details that he's been able to do, the fan base is on fire, and it's sort of like what does North Carolina have to lose here? Something bad happens, it doesn't work out. Okay, what are they going to go back to winning 6 games again? You know what I mean? So there's the possibilities, and the ceiling has people thrilled in Chapel Hill and all throughout the fan base, I think. And certainly, judging from the press conference and the amount of everybody, all the other coaches were there, the admin support and all, everybody is just giddy. It really is a good word for it, for the possibilities here.
People are comparing this a little bit to what Deion Sanders has done to Colorado. I mean, like you said, you and I are talking right now. I'm sure you've done a ton of media. I'm sure your colleagues at Inside Carolina have done a ton of media. People are talking about North Carolina football. It's being brought up on news channels, not necessarily sports channels. I mean, the publicity has been insane, and it's just now getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously I've had my feet on the ground working and doing Inside Carolina work, but just to be able to turn on the TV and see every show on, ESPN talking about it, every show on CBS Sports, like you mentioned, morning news shows and all. Look, my first North Carolina football game was 1973, and I can legitimately say that there's not a moment that is come close to rivaling what we've seen as far as press. They've had some good teams, not many, but they've had some good teams. And Belichick referenced the 1980 team, which was forever ago, but that was one of the best teams ever. Nothing that I've seen for North Carolina football has come close to what we're seeing here. And, a lot of people talk about, it's a ridiculous amount of money they're going to pay him. And, 3 years, $30 million guaranteed, and 5 years, $50 million, and all this money for salary. You cannot buy what North Carolina has experienced, North Carolina football has experienced over the last several days, and publicity and all that stuff. I mean, it is the cool thing now. There's still some detractors, like I said, that think it's a joke and think it's going to turn out very badly, but you cannot purchase the amount of interest, amount of publicity, amount of talk everywhere that we've seen here. And it's just it's pretty wild to think of. Like I said, it's still a little bit surreal as we, I guess, get into the nitty gritty of everything that comes after an introductory press conference.
Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. Tommy, as we begin to wrap up, obviously it's 48 hours, maybe less, than this became official. The press conference, as you said, was yesterday. But are you seeing residual effects in recruiting and the transfer portal? Is, word getting out, guys coming in for visits that maybe Carolina had no shot of getting, a week ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the way it kind of drug out a little bit, you had several North Carolina players, and I'll give credit to Pat Sudis and his team, which is the current, he's general manager under Mac, but he's still there, trying to hold it all together. I give credit to him to hold it together as much as possible. But you had some major players going into the portal. You had a couple of offensive linemen. You had one of their star linebackers. You had a defensive tackle that, if he can put it all together, can be really, really good. And these guys jump into the portal not knowing what's going to happen. And we know today and age, you might as well go into the portal and get your fair market value and then figure out what you want to do. But you see that happening. And then as soon as Belichick is announced, the offensive linemen jump out of the portal. One of the wide receivers jumps out of the portal. So people want to be a part of it. And then you look, I saw a report that the number one quarterback in the 2026 class wants to check out North Carolina now. I see guys that are in the portal from other schools that you're like, well, never did North Carolina have an opportunity here or are interested. So I think that'll be, we always talk about recruiting bounces when you have a head coach change. And this is just, I think this will be that on steroids. Now, what makes it different these days is that ultimately Yes, people want to come play for a NFL coach or a Super Bowl winning coach or whatever, but you know as well as I do, college football has become transactional and it's about a paycheck. And that here is the key for North Carolina, I think, is that not only have they hired this guy to be the head coach, but they've stepped up on the financial side of it. You know, he demanded an NIL pot of, upwards of $20 million. That'll get you in line with what we've heard from all the big schools. And so those type things coupled with the name, that's going to make it interesting for North Carolina here. And you mentioned Deion. Deion was able to bring in so much talent. It didn't really work out the first year, but it sort of started we saw how that was building. And then this year they've had a really good football team. I think for Carolina, the key is getting a top flight quarterback. They've got to potentially have a freshman that'll be coming in, but you need to have a veteran quarterback that can make a difference. We've seen what a good one does at a team like Miami, even a team like Vanderbilt. We've seen what a one that they thought was good and wasn't good in Ua Ungle at Florida State. So that's the key for North Carolina is, yes, they're getting this boon in recruiting and interest and all that. They've got to follow through with it. And that'll be the key to success, I think.
Of course, you'll hear North Carolina and Florida next week on the hardwood right here on 1010XL. Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. Tommy, I know it's been a very busy week for you. Thank you for taking time out. We'll talk soon, my friend.
Yes, sir. Anytime you need me, I'm here. I appreciate the time.
Every NFL Sunday starts with a kickoff.
All you got to do is put your foot right through the ball.
After the game, we'll crown the special teams player of the game.
He is a difference maker now.
Brought to you by Crown Royal.
This is the last play of the game.
On 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Imagine driving a late model car of your dreams at a fraction of the original sticker price. For the very best in low mileage cars in Jacksonville, visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom. All luxury cars are serviced and inspected, many with a certified warranty. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a septic tank emergency.
Don't let your holidays go down the drain. Duck Rooter's here to save your Christmas cheer. Whether it's a stubborn clog, a burst pipe, or a septic scare, we'll fix it faster than Santa can slide down a chimney. Duck Rooter. Call us now and save the day. 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Rooter, because nobody wants a silent night in the bathroom.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Brotherhood of Rock. Now they celebrate 25 years. Sticks. Kevin Cronin, formerly singer of REO Speedwagon. Special guest Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. June 2nd, Daly's Place. Tickets on sale Friday, December 13th at Ticketmaster.com. Sticks, Kevin Cronin, Don Felder, Brotherhood of Rock.
Protect your home with Tyson Sound and Security. Denny Thompson here. Porch pirates are on the prowl. But with their smart doorbell camera, you'll see who's at your door whether you're home or not. Tyson's smart doorbell camera gives you peace of mind detecting people and packages, keeping your family and belongings safe all season long. Call Tyson Sound and Security today for holiday savings on cameras and home security systems. Enjoy a worry-free holiday with Tyson Sound and Security.
Bull riding, the perfect fusion combination of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Ready to sharpen your aim or find the perfect firearm? Come to St. Nicholas Guns and Rage. With a huge selection of guns, ammo, and accessories, plus Jacksonville's best indoor range for every skill level. They've got everything you need to hit your target. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, their friendly experts will guide you every step of the way at 4630 Blanding Boulevard or online at stnickguns.com. St. Nicholas Gun and Range. Gear up, shoot a lot, shoot better.
When mice and rats show up in your space, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast before they have time to multiply. Terminix knows how to shut down rodents, and they'll keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so do we. Don't live with a rodent problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
The Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa is the perfect place for indulging in a pampering spa treatment. This holiday season, give the gift of wellness with a gift card and take advantage of the spa's current promotion. With the purchase of a $75 gift card or more, guests get a credit towards a future service. With healing massages, revitalizing facial treatments, and more, a day at the Sawgrass Spa makes the perfect gift. Purchase in person at Sawgrass Spa during operating hours.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Past the halfway point here on Hacker After Dark. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock tonight. 1010XL 92.5 FM. Coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, we will go to the state capital, Tallahassee. I mean, it's only been 13 days since Florida State's season ended, the 2-10 nightmare that was 2024. And yet they got a couple of brand new coordinators, including offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn. Luke Kromenhawk has entered the transfer portal. Looks like he will not return. And Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback of Boston College, who beat Florida State back in September, has committed to Florida State. It has been a wild 13 days. Kurt Weiler of the Osceola covering Florida State. He's one of our guys in Tallahassee. We'll talk about all of it with him coming up in about 25 minutes or so. Coming up next, we'll head up to East Rutherford, New Jersey. Our guy when it comes to the New York Jets is Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. What about this Jets football team coming here to Jacksonville on Sunday? They still got a lot of talent, man. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. You look at the guys on defense, Quinnen Williams. Where did it go wrong for the Jets? Are they the biggest disappointment in the National Football League in 2024 at 3-10? Is Aaron Rodgers going to return to New York next year? And keep in mind, they already have an opening at head coach. Are they going to be looking at a lot of the same guys that you want the Jaguars to be looking at, i.e. Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, etc. There's a lot to get into when it comes to the Jets who make the trip to Jacksonville here on Sunday. By the way, the fifth quarter comes to you from Hurricane Grill and Wings in Bartram Park area, 2 hours after the Jags and Jets go final. The head coach, Dave Campo, and myself will have the fifth quarter for you. So let's preview the Jets with Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. He's our guy when it comes to the Jets, and he joins me next on a Friday evening in Jacksonville, Florida, with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Can you make picks like a pro? Yes! Make the best picks and win a pizza party from Salvatore's Pizza at Tapestry Park.
Are we doing this?
Play 1010XL's weekly pick'em.
We'll say yes.
You pick 'em at 1010XL.com.
I got the perfect holiday gift for you. At the Blue Crab House, you spend $50, you get a $65 gift card. $50 and you get $65. Bam, the pressure's off. Located right off of San Jose on Julington Creek Road, open every day until 9 except for Monday. Get rid of the stress of holiday shopping right now at the Blue Crab House. Spend $50 and get a $65 gift card. Only at the Blue Crab House.
Hey, sports fans, it's Hayes Carlyon from MyBookie. Opportunity is knocking this weekend in the sports betting world, and MyBookie has all the action you want to take. This Sunday, 1 p.m., the New York Jets come to town as 3.5-point favorites to beat your home team. Neither team is playing particularly well with a 40.5-point game total. Take the under in this one. At 4 o'clock, we have maybe the game of the year. The Bills at the Lions. The Lions are favored by 2.5 at home. The game total is a whopping 54.5. Everybody is going to want action on this game, so pay attention to the prop bets and play the over on the Lions that you like for yardage and touchdowns. Sunday Night Football, the Packers travel to play the Seahawks. Give a strong look for the Packers to cover. The 2.5-point spread is underdogs. Sign up now at MyBookie and get a double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Make yourself a winner this weekend with MyBookie, and don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
For 79 years, each Gator Bowl game wrote a chapter in a story filled with excitement, celebrity, and a touch of drama. The game has seen iconic coaches like Bear Bryant, Vince Dooley, and of course, Bobby Bowden. Football stars like Larry Zonka, Archie and Peyton Manning, and Michael Vick. The 80th chapter features Duke and number 14 Ole Miss. Thursday, January 2nd in primetime on Bill Gay Grounds at Everbank Stadium. Tickets on sale now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
Hey folks, Dave Benyon with Zero Res. I asked my wife what she wants for Christmas, and she said the same thing she does every year. She wants a clean home full of family and friends. That means the carpets, the tile and grout, the large oriental rug in our family room, and the huge sectional sofa that everyone loves to hang out on all need a good Zero Res cleaning. Give Zero Res a call and get your carpets cleaned for only $49 a room, and get your tile and grout cleaned for 25% off. Zero Res spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. If your favorite colors are orange and green, stay close to South Beach this season.
Your source for weekly Canes news and nuggets on 1010XL is the Hurricane Report.
Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve on 1010XL.
My name's Jim. I'm 53 years old. There should be options in life, like ways to lose weight. Medications now feel like the only option. I mean, it sounds like a guarantee. I do have friends who have lost weight with them. I tried holding off. I did other diets, but I was miserable. I'd rather be fat and happy. The problem was I wasn't happy fat. I was about to start the meds, but then I heard of Awaken 180's GLP-1 program. Turned out it does the same thing as the meds without injecting myself for life. It absolutely worked. I dropped 45 pounds. I'm now in maintenance, and I feel better than my friends who are still on the meds. Listen, I barely know what GLP-1 is. What I do know is Awaken 180 worked for me, and I was far from miserable doing it.
Thanks, Jim. You all know our success with Awaken 180, and now with Awaken 180's GLP-1 Balance, you address the root causes of weight issues. Do it naturally, then keep it off. Awaken180weightloss.com.
We heard you loud and clear, Jags fans, and we're taking it back to the 90s again. The Prowler throwback jerseys return to the field Sunday, December 15th, when your Jaguars take on the New York Jets. Be at the bank to see them in action while joining us for our Inspire Change game. To lock in your seats, head to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is a local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
If you're between ages 16 and 24, you can learn a career in construction, electrical, plumbing, or masonry with free training from the AMI Kids Florida Registered Free Apprenticeship Program. Call 576-7337.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating at a local blood donation center.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Jets come up this Sunday, 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL radio. Both teams coming in 3-10. Both teams kind of playing out the stretch. One team already has a head coaching opening. Will the other team at some point have a head coaching opening? Let's talk about all of it with Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. He's our guy when it comes to the New York Jets, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Andy, how you doing?
Yeah, a lot of excitement for this one. I hate to even be a little sarcastic, but it's just been such a disappointing season for the Jets, and I know for the Jaguars as well. It's been tough to watch. So I feel a lot of sympathy for both fan bases. I know there's still some interesting stuff going on with this game. And hey, Jags fans will get to see whatever version this is of Aaron Rodgers, and that's not nothing. He still can make some nice throws, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, look, I mean, combined records of 6-20, it kind of is what it is. I mean, Andy, we are flabbergasted here in Jacksonville that it went this much off the rails. You cover the Jets every day. Are you flabbergasted it went off the rails for the Jets the way it did?
The way it did, yeah. You can't be surprised with the Jets when things go like this, but just the amount of, I mean, it's hard for me to even keep track. I mean, you're talking about changing offensive coordinators and keeping him in the building. Nathaniel Hackett is like one of Rodgers' best friends, and they demoted him, and he's still there. Although I haven't seen him in weeks. I mean, that's just one of the weird things that's happened, including the coach getting fired at 2-3 after a loss in London, and the owner thinking that was going to spark the team and there would be no downside to it. So I think, I don't know if they were a Super Bowl or high, real competitive, playoff team, even if things went real well, but I don't think they'd be 3-10. And I'm not a big Robert Saleh supporter, but I just don't think they'd be 3-10 if they had kept Robert Saleh. They would have found a way to win a few more games. And a few more games right now, you're still in the playoff race because they just got eliminated on Sunday in Miami. So it's been a mess. It's been, even for the Jets, it's been an epic mess. And I guess when you start thinking about all the names and the players, in terms of what these guys are known for, it's not that surprising, but just for this team to find new ways to lose every week too it's not surprising anymore, but it is remarkable, and it's interesting to watch. I will say for a 3-10 team, they they play well at times, and it's not at the end of the game. So it's been interesting, and there's always something going on. But yeah, it's a shocking result to lose, to win 3 of your first 13 games when you have all this talent on the roster.
I got a Jets buddy that was stunned when Saleh was shown the door. What was your reaction?
Yeah, it's the most shocked I've ever been in terms of a midseason move. It was when you start to think about everything that's happened in the last couple of years, and the fact that with a few games left last year, they said Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas were safe, and then those were Aaron Rodgers' first 5 games, full games in a Jets uniform, and for them to pull the plug, for Woody Johnson to pull the plug that quickly, and again, to think, you're going to have a defensive-minded head coach leave the building, and you're not going to have a drop-off on defense when the defensive coordinator is now in charge of everything, including calling the defensive plays still. It was just ill-advised, whatever adjective you want to put in there for insane. It was bad. I mean, it just, again, I'm not a Robert Saleh defender. His record spoke for itself. I can't remember what it was anymore, but not many coaches get a 4th year when you're 20 games under 500 through 3. And I didn't think it made sense, but if you're going to bring him back for the 4th year, why would you give up on it after 5 games? And they're 2-3. They had just lost, 2 tough ones in a row. So it wasn't like they were even getting blown out. They hadn't been blown out to that point. So yeah, it's the whole thing. I mean, they lost those 2 games. They had field goals in the Denver game to win it. And then in London, Rodgers had the ball in his hands in the final minute with a chance to win it. So that to me is the low point of the season. That's the point of demarcation, and then to go and make an effort to re-sign or to finally sign Hassan Reddick after that, and to trade for Devontae Adams after that and expect it to work, all these new pieces without a head coach. It just speaks to where the Jets are. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Andy Vasquez, NJ.com, covering the New York Jets. Again, Jaguars and Jets Sunday, 1 o'clock here at Everbank Stadium. Aaron Rodgers, is there any other way to surmise his time in New York than an absolute disaster from the injury last year to 3-10 this year?
Yeah, it's been bad. I mean, the crazy thing is he probably has gotten a little bit too much heat for not playing well enough. I mean, he hasn't been Aaron Rodgers of old, but he's still, going to have one of the better seasons in Jets quarterback history, which obviously not a high bar, but still he's gonna approach 4,000 yards. He has, I think, only 9 interceptions. I think he's above 20 touchdowns now. He finally got over 300 yards in a game, ending that streak, which had gone back, I think, 4 years or 3 years almost to the day. But he hasn't played well enough. I mean, he's had the ball now 5 times. I guess Sunday was the 6th time, and he did lead a scoring drive for them to take the lead finally for the first time. But it's another game where he had the ball in his hands in the 4th quarter with a chance to win it with a touchdown, and he didn't get it done. So that to me is the biggest issue, the biggest thing. He was brought here specifically to do that, to show these guys how to win, and his leadership, this whole outside perception of Rodgers that he's a monster or just the worst person in the world, I think is overblown. I don't think he's like an actively toxic force in the locker room, but his version of accountability is a superstar's version of accountability. He's never been the leader that he, plays himself out to be or up to be. And I think that's the kind of the biggest issue, is that for this team, they didn't need somebody to stay all calm and tell them that everything was going to work out fine, because you're going back to a team that in 2022 lost its last 6 games when it was 7-4. So, and to miss the playoffs. So they hadn't figured out how to win, and everybody kind of mirroring him, I think, was a leadership disaster, because in the end, everybody's just kind of looking at each other when things are going wrong. Like, can you believe it? Instead of taking action to move forward and be like, everything's going to be fine. And I think they needed a voice like actively telling them everything's going to be fine. So yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't a good fit in terms of leadership. And a lot of people are going to say the Jets failed by bringing him in, and they did. They should have known what they needed in the locker room in terms of leadership, and they should have done better. But Rodgers chose the Jets, and I don't think enough is made out of that. He thought he could overcome this debacle of a situation. He thought, I'm Aaron Rodgers, I can do it. And there was just a lot of arrogance on both sides that it was just, you plug in Aaron Rodgers and you're a championship contending team. And it was obvious last year that wasn't the case, the way they handled losing Rodgers, which they handled all wrong. And now you're seeing, even with all this talent, it's still the case.
Couple more. Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. Andy, do you expect Aaron Rodgers to be back with the Jets next year?
No, but they don't have a head coach. They don't have a GM. There are benefits to keeping him in terms of his salary. You're not going to find a better quarterback out there for $23.5 or $24.5 million cap hit next year. And the problem is then it flows on to the year after that with a large cap hit. And you just get it over with now and get rid of him. And then all the excess baggage that we just talked about. I mean, I think he'd have to agree to, be in a secondary role, like not in a secondary role, but in a role where it's not his offense that he's necessarily the most comfortable with. It's not all about having his guys there, all of that stuff. And is he willing to do that? He seems to say he is. I mean, because it's his only way to play next year. Not only with the Jets, but wherever he goes, he's going to have to get in to fit in, and that's not what Aaron Rodgers has been. And will that work? I think he is showing something. The fact that he's still going out there playing well, not causing too many distractions, at least for Aaron Rodgers anyway. With this nightmare season, I mean, I think he's handled it almost as well as you could. He's just not going to change who and what he is. I don't think you can expect him to, but I don't think he's like melted down in what has been a really difficult situation. But I don't see how any new regime coming in here would think it's a good idea.
You look at the Jets last week, they played hard against Miami, lost a heartbreaker. You look at Jacksonville, they went up to Tennessee and won a division road game. It appears, even though these teams are both out of the playoffs, that they're still battling. Do you anticipate the Jets will continue to play well in the next month, even though the playoffs are over?
Yeah, I think there's too many guys on this roster with uncertain futures and too much to prove, and guys who may be wanting out. And even the young guys, if they're fed up with being here, it's not going to reflect well on tape. Even Rodgers, it's not going to, nobody's, he said last week it's kind of absurd that he's playing for his future, but in a way he is. Like, a lot of people think the way he moved for the first half of the season when he was banged up, looked like a guy who was on his last legs. Now he is moving better now, so I think he has something to prove from that aspect, and he's playing like that, even if he doesn't want to admit that he is. So in a weird way, Sunday was a good day for Rodgers because he showed he can still be pretty good. And I think, when you have him setting that tone, it's never been, playing hard as the problem for this team. Even when Salah was here, very rarely did this team get boat raced. Very rarely did they not show up for a full 60 minutes. There's been plenty of times where they're out schemed, had a bad game plan, maybe had some poor energy for part of the game, but most of the time they're in the game. And I think they've only been blown out once this season or twice this season against the Cardinals and against the Steelers. So I don't expect that to change. I think they'll play well. And there's this maybe the fact that they're out of the playoffs now, there's this whatever weird pressure there was, because that's what it's felt like. There's just, they know they have to win, and they couldn't. So it would be very Jets for them to win the last 4 games and end up in the mid-teens and starting over with their draft pick.
Andy, as we begin to wrap up, you look at the head coaching situation, the head coaching carousel. Obviously, the Jets' job is already open. A lot of people here listening to us, believe me, want the Jaguars' job to come open in the next month or so. And everybody down here is in love with, Ben Johnson and maybe Cliff Kingsbury to an extent, but Liam Cohen, the young offensive minds, if you will. Is that the kind of direction that the Jets are going to go? Because if Jacksonville comes open, obviously the Jaguars and the Jets may be competing for the same guys.
Yeah, I think in something like their offense has been so inconsistent that it would make sense, but when you start looking around at what this Jets job is, and it's dealing with so much more than just scoring. It's all the negativity that comes with losing. It's the look you see on the face of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, these supremely confident guys looking around like, what the hell am I doing here? And how did this happen? And then you have the whole fan base like that. Like, you need a culture changer. You need, I hate to say it because it's just the flavor of the moment, but a Dan Campbell type guy, a Rex Ryan for the Jets, blast to the past. Although I do think that would be a terrible idea because he didn't get them there in the first place. The game has changed so much in the last 10 years, but somebody like that who's just going to bring this force of nature that can withstand the amount of negativity you get, not just from us asking questions, but the fans expecting things to go wrong, the national media laughing and poking fun of the Jets when things go wrong. It takes something different, and I don't think it's about offense or defense for this team. I think it's about having a culture changer, a guy that everyone in the locker room believes is really there, not just to advance his own career, but for the guys in the locker room, and to, wipe this stain that's been on the Jets now as the longest team in any American professional sport that hasn't been to the playoffs, which is really hard to do in the NFL in this day and age. So I think that's what they should be looking for. But it's not going to be easy. I know a lot of guys' first choice with all the ownership issues isn't going to be to come to the Jets. So it's a tough spot. And there's a lot of question marks, and it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I think they need more than anything a program kind of builder changer, and a guy who really is genuinely that's his primary motivation.
Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. He's our guy when it comes to the Jets as they make the trip to Jacksonville down here on Sunday. You'll hear it on 1010XL. Andy, appreciate it as always. Safe travels. Happy holidays to you, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks. Enjoy the game, everyone.
You saw what happened. Jeff Lageman tells you why it happened.
And here's how you know you're right.
Jeff Lageman checks the tape for you. Tuesday on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by Napa Auto Care.
10 to noon on 1010XL.
Yo, what's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T, and I'm going to keep it real. We could all benefit from a little something extra in the bedroom. Blue Chew can help. And I'm about to tell you how you can get some for free. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. No doctor visits, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew ships right to your door in a discreet package. Not even them nosy neighbors gonna know what's going on. Blue Chew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. And did I mention the chewable? Just like popping a Mentos. And they're made right here in the good old US of A. Now you're asking, how do I get my Blue Chew? Visit BlueChew.com and make sure to enter promo code 1010XL at checkout. Try it for free and just pay $5 shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's right. Use promo code 1010XL and let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
Hi, I'm Chuck Farah. We know how important it is for you to have a vehicle after you've been injured in a car accident. So when we represent you for your personal injury claim, we'll help you get a rental car from the insurance company while your car is being repaired. And we'll provide this service at no additional fee. If you're hurt and you've got no car, let my team go to work for you. Farah & Farah, protecting you and your family. Call us at 396-5555 or go to farahandfarah.com. Jacksonville.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O. If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
Hunters Know Patience is part of the game.
Just got to keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnit Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Come on, admit it. Almost everyone you know seems to be playing pickleball now, right? So whether you just want to learn how to play or you're ready to show off your elite pickleball skills, the Y is the place for you. Visit our brand new McGuire Family Pickleball Center at the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach. 5 top quality outdoor courts and 3 amazing indoor courts where you can learn about dinks, dill ball, falafel, the kitchen, and more pickleball slang at the Y.
Holidays are here, and if you're in need of extra cash, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn can help. Gold is at record highs. It's a great time to sell. Bring in your gold for an estimate today. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Open enrollment is here, so it's time to secure health coverage for your family. Whether you need Affordable Care Act plans, dental, or Medicare, visit one of the Florida Blue pop-up enrollment tents near you. They make the process easy and stress-free, with medical and dental insurance you can count on. Plus, listen to this. Based on eligibility, many people pay absolutely nothing for coverage. Find a pop-up tent in the Rose parking lot on Beach Boulevard near Southside and at Night of Wonders at the Orange Park Mall. Here's a reminder for Florida Blue members. You can access Sanitas Medical Center with 3 locations around town offering primary care, walk-in services, an on-site pharmacy, and mental health support. 3 Sanitas Medical Centers and 2 convenient Florida Blue pop-up enrollment sites combined for a winning team in Northeast Florida insurance coverage.
Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. Friday, April 11th, the St. Augustine Amphitheater. Performing songs from their latest album, Weather Vanes. Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. On sale now at theamp.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Florida State Seminoles football season ended less than 2 weeks ago, but there has been no shortage of news coming out of Tallahassee with a couple of coordinators that have been hired, very active transfer portal. We'll see what Mike Norvell does to try to turn around that 2-10 debacle that was 2024. For the very latest, Kurt Weiler is one of our guys over in the state capitol. He is with the Osceola, that is the Rivals website that covers Florida State. And Kurt is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Kurt, how we doing?
Doing well, keeping up with a busy December. I think we expected it to be busy, and it has delivered so far.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I haven't talked to you since the season ended. Was there relief, Kurt, when, even after Florida won that game, a week and a half or so ago, and talking to a lot of Florida State friends that I have over here, there was just a sense of relief that the season was finally over. Did you get that vibe from being around that team?
I'm not sure the team would admit to that. I think I saw some of that. I mean, I think personally, I can say I was relieved to not be able to put that team to bed, if you will. And I think even in Mike Norvell's press conference right after the season ended, right after that Florida game, I mean, you saw kind of a different Mike Norvell where after weeks of talking about, he was still pouring into this season and he wasn't giving up on this season. You kind of saw him finally be able to fully pivot to the offseason and to him it was a different Mike Norvell from a passion standpoint of, I need to do everything in my power to make sure this doesn't happen again. And he talked much more candidly than he had maybe about all those things. And so I think he didn't say it in as many words, but I think you saw it in how he talked then and how he's talked since. We talked to him on National Signing Day, and it was kind of similar in messaging and bluntness and in a lot of ways. I mean, it was different than the guy we talked to all season.
It's been less than 2 weeks, but as we said, there's been no shortage of news. Let's begin with the coordinators. We'll get to Gus Malzahn in a moment, but Tony White from Nebraska, Terrence Knighton, a former Jaguar, comes with him on that staff. What's your thought of the defensive staff they're putting together?
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty interesting pivot because Tony White, it's not entirely like it's a multiple defense, but the base defense is a 3-3-5, so that'll be a bit of a different look. I mean, I'm not sure I remember Florida State ever running that, and I feel like it's more something you see in the Big Ten in a part of the country where running the ball is kind of so much a part of the game, but I think you've seen him have quite a bit of success. I mean, each of his last 4 years, 2 at Nebraska, 2 at Syracuse, they were top 25 nationally in total defense and top 25 nationally in scoring defense. They've been very good against the run, which was a problem for Florida State this year. So it'll be interesting how much they have to kind of flip that defensive personnel in terms of, obviously going from a 4-2-5 to a 3-3-5 changes some guys' roles, but I think there's a lot to like about the track record, and it'll be interesting to see how he can translate that with Florida talent. It kind of changes the equation of the players you can get access to.
Clearly the biggest news, again, Kurt Weiler of the Osceola here with us on 1010XL. Clearly the biggest news when it comes to the hires, the biggest name is Gus Malzahn, leaving the head coaching job at UCF to be the offensive coordinator at Florida State. I got a lot of mixed reactions. Some people I talk to in Florida State circles love the hire. Some people I talk to, quite frankly, Kurt, are very, very lukewarm on the hire. What's your thought?
I think a lot of it depends on what Gus Malzahn are you getting? Obviously that offense was not good this year. Frankly, they kind of made the same mistake Florida State did of not bringing in the right transfer quarterback and then not having a good option behind them and kind of just not having a quarterback in some ways sunk the season. But they had, even still, they had a really good run game. They've had a really good run game. They were a really good offense each of his first 3 years there. There was just a bit of a drop-off this year because of those issues. But, if you've got a guy experience-wise, I think he knows what it takes to compete at a high level. He's recruited at a high level, which is something you can't entirely say for Mike Norvell, and you wonder the effect that had on a stronger-than-expected finish to FSU's recruiting class here last week. But I think it depends, are you getting a guy who is in the twilight of his career and is kind of just wanting to find a job to run out his last few years, or you're getting a guy who wants to maybe parlay this into another head coaching job and just wanted to get out of UCF and maybe reset the clock, if you will. So I think it depends on that, but I think there's a world where it absolutely works well. His offense is well proven. It's one of the best running games year in and year out in the country between his time at Auburn and UCF.
On the surface, the Gus Malzahn hired offensive coordinator looks like Mike Norvell is swinging for the fences. Does that lead you to believe that Norvell believes he needs to win in 2025?
I'm not sure I'm of the opinion of I think it would take another disastrous season for them to really think about moving on in 2025 because it would still be $55 million, and that's still, that is not anything really close to where Florida State would realistically, they would have to scrounge up a lot of money to make that happen. But I think perception wise, yes, turning it around, showing that was a blip and not a downward trend or not closer to kind of where the floor is going to settle in this program. I think he knows how important it is, whether his job's on the line next year or just that he can get things trending in the right direction again for recruiting and for public perception and for winning back the fan base, because obviously he's going to have to do a lot of that. He knows how important it is.
Couple more for Kurt Weiler of the Osceola. You mentioned the good end of the recruiting class. I agree. Even though Florida State's still going to finish 20th, roughly somewhere around there, they were in the 50s a week out from signing day. So that has to be some good news that it appears the trajectory, at least on the recruiting front, did point upward towards the end.
Yeah, it's funny. I joked with a few people on that day as it was happening. Who knew Florida State had to go through a too intense season under Mike Norvell for him to learn how to closed a bit. I mean, they flipped quite a few guys. They definitely had their best signing day as it was, like of Mike's time at Florida State. I mean, Usman Kroma flipping the running back from Georgia. He's Mr. Football in Georgia. I mean, was a big deal. It's a guy who could be an instant contributor. I mean, Javon Boggs, receiver who's committed to UCF. Obviously, the tie with Gus Malzahn, I'm sure, helped there, but he had a relationship with Mike Norvell too. And I think was Mr. Football last year in Florida and is a guy who could maybe have an instant impact. I think there's a lot of those guys too. I mean, we'll see. I'm curious how much you are banking on a lot of those guys right away. But I think, I mean, Mike Norvell hadn't had, even last year coming out when they were 13-0 and had just gotten snubbed, they weren't in a habit of closing particularly strong in recruiting. I mean, last year was KJ Bolden. 2 years before that was Travis Hunter. They've had those moments. They lost Solomon Thomas from your neck of the woods, but that was really the only bad news. And I think they flipped 5 or 6 guys that week. I mean, it was a very good week for them, especially coming off the season they'd had.
You know, the big story, I guess, this week is Luke Kromenhoek announcing he's going to go into the transfer portal. And I think that caught a lot of Florida State fans off guard. And my initial thought, and you tell me, you're much closer to the situation over there in Tallahassee, is you see all these transfer portal guys that are coming in for visits at the quarterback position. You're not going to bring a big-name quarterback in out of the portal unless they know they're going to start in 2025. Just talk to DJU about that. So when Kromenhoek sees that, he probably thinks, I'm out of here, right? Is that your understanding as to probably what happened?
I don't know if it's necessarily like that black and white, that cut and dry. I mean, I think Luke, with how the season ended, you would have to imagine Luke might have thought he'd be in consideration to be the starter in 2025. And from the Florida State point of view, I think there's a world where Luke could be a good quarterback long term. I also am not sure I saw enough to say in such an important season that I'm banking on him being the guy in 2025. You know, I mean, that's a lot to put on a second-year player who you saw some glimpses, but and again, the supporting cast around him wasn't great, but it's just hard to. But I think more than bringing in a quarterback, I mean, you look at the guys they're bringing in. I mean, Luke is somewhat athletic, but that's not what Luke wants to be the strength of his game. Luke wants to be a passing quarterback. You look at the guys they're looking at in the portal, I would not classify them as passing quarterbacks. I would classify them as definite dual threat guys. So I think I don't know if so much it is that they're bringing in a quarterback, but it's you bringing in the quarterbacks they're in, and he might be looking and saying, what offense is this going to be? You know, I mean, I think the thing is Gus Malzahn's offense operates very well with a mobile quarterback. And again, Luke's capable of that, but it's not, I would say, the biggest strength of his game or the type of quarterback he wants to be. So I think when you're bringing in Gus Malzahn, it was always a risk, and it would be a tough loss. He's the highest rated, I think, quarterback that Mike Norvell has signed out of the high school ranks. But also, I understand not wanting to give him the keys of the kingdom in such an important 2025 season.
The rumor is Castellanos, the quarterback from Boston College, who ironically enough beat Florida State last year in Tallahassee. It would be interesting. And look, I don't want to ridicule the young man, but just on the surface, and I don't know him. I've never talked to him. This is just a point of view that I have, and I'm curious your thoughts. On the surface, it appears he lost his job at Boston College, got benched, and then said, I'm out of here, and transferred, got in the portal before the season even ended and kind of bailed on his teammates. That's a tough look, is it not?
Oh, I don't disagree that is something supposing he comes here, we'll talk to him sometime in the next months, and I'll be interested to hear what he says about that. I think, if I'm being honest, I don't think that was a good situation for him because Bill O'Brien tried to kind of make him more of a pocket passer, and that is not his strength. I think he had, like, how many rushing yards did he have in 2023? I think he had like 700 or 800 or more, and I think he only had like 100 or so this past season before he did get benched. And I think he had some fumble problems, but his passing numbers were actually better. He threw quite a few picks in 2023, and the passing numbers were better last year. So, yeah, I don't love that either. I'll be interested to see what he says about that. But I think it was just something. It felt like something of just like the offense he wanted to run didn't fit with the quarterback he had.
All right, Kurt, as we wrap up, transfer portal-wise, guys are beginning to come in for visits. We know how active Florida State has been in the past. It's benefited them greatly some of the time. It kind of blew up in their face last year. And we also know a lot of Florida State guys that maybe weren't getting a lot of playing time have also entered the portal. How active do you expect the Seminoles to be? Is this going to be a typical Mike Norvell portal cycle where they're going to bring in a ton of guys?
I think this might be the biggest class he's signed from a standpoint of I think they're going to lose some guys. I think they're down to about 70 or so guys right now in terms of guys who've announced they're leaving. But also you got to factor in it's not 85 anymore. Your roster can go up to 105 in the revenue sharing era that's starting this upcoming year. So, yeah, I think it could be his biggest transfer portal class he's signed. I mean, I think they have quite a few needs at offensive line. I think they have quite a few needs on the defensive line and at linebacker. I think you could see a pretty obviously they're looking at some UCF guys on that front. They're looking at some Nebraska guys with those ties to the coordinators. And I think it could be a pretty big class because they kind of need a bunch of impact guys. I think you want to keep a lot of the younger guys, but how many of the younger guys who are on the team this year are ready to be starters or major contributors in 2025 is a different question.
Kurt Weiler of the Osceola, that is the Rivals website that covers Florida State. Kurt, tell the Florida State fans over here in Jacksonville, man, about the coverage you guys have this week. It's a very active week over there in Tallahassee.
It is. We are talking to the coordinators for the first time today, and I think some portal visits are kicking off today too, and I think there are going to be guys on campus visiting portal guys pretty much every day. It feels like for the next 2 or 3 weeks outside of maybe or right around Christmas. So I think it'll be a busy time, and we will have you covered on the Osceola.
Kurt, always appreciate the time. Know you're busy. If I don't talk to you beforehand, happy holidays to you and your family, and we'll talk soon, pal.
Thanks, Ryan. You too.
Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
And thank you to Kurt Weiler of the Osceola for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. It's been a really interesting week and a half or so for Florida State. Obviously, the hiring of Gus Malzahn, the transfer of quarterback Luke Kromenhawk, the commitment of a new quarterback and Thomas Castellanos from Boston College. I mean, keep in mind, the Florida State football season ended, 13 days ago, and we have had a lot that has gone on in Tallahassee, certainly from that point. So appreciate Kurt's time tonight here with us on Hacker After Dark. Certainly spent some time on that, spent some time on the Bill Belichick hire again up at North Carolina and what that means for UNC moving forward. Will this have a Deion Sanders effect? I mean, remember what Colorado football was just 2 years ago to compare to what it is now. Will we see something similar with Belichick there in Chapel Hill? And then we obviously spent some time on the Jaguars and the Jets Sunday at 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL 2 hours after that game goes final. Myself and the head coach, Dave Campo, will have the fifth quarter for you. Leon Searcy is off, but myself and the head coach will have the fifth quarter for you 2 hours after the game ends. Live at Hurricane Grill and Wings over in the Bartram Park area. So we do hope you join us on Sunday evening for the fifth quarter to talk about the Jaguars and the Jets. As far as that game goes, boy, I'm going back and forth all week. I think it's a fourth quarter game. Again, a lot of this depends on the motivation of both teams because both teams have already been eliminated from the playoffs. But just on sheer talent on paper, give me the Jets. With Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, it's just hard to pick against the Jets. So give me the Jets on Sunday to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very busy Friday evening and really a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We got a ton of people to thank. Again, Kurt Weiler of the Osceola talking Florida State. Thank you to Tommy Ashley, InsideCarolina.com. They've been all over the Bill Belichick story up there in Chapel Hill. It's been a very busy week for them, and we certainly appreciate Tommy taking time out for us tonight. Thank you to my guy, Andy Vasquez, NJ.com. Andy is our guy when it comes to the New York Jets, and we always appreciate his time talking about the Jets as they make the trip to Jacksonville. And back in hour number one, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Talking Jags, Jets. We also spent a lot of time on the young Jaguars, the Brian Thomases, the Tank Bigsbys, the Jarian Joneses, as that's really what it's all about for me, seeing these young guys develop with 4 games to go in the regular season. Well, that'll do it for a Friday evening. Again, thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you guys for joining us all week here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it.